Hey Bonnie, welcome to the MasterCard Cup. Just want to give you an opportunity here to view your swing at regular speed. We'll let that play on through. We'll put you back in your dress position and we'll go ahead and take a look at a few things for you. So while we got you back here in your dress position, let's take a look at your setup. Your spine's nice and straight, not a tilt. Your legs come down into a nicely unlocked position. You do hold your arms a little bit out in front of you and reaching out for the ball. So if I were going to work on your golf game and take a look at your posture from this vantage point, we'd move your tail out and up a little while we move your sternum out, up, and forward. All that's going to do, it's going to basically put your spine on a little bit more of an incline. It'll get your legs to also straighten up a hair so that they're just unlocked as opposed to being bent. And then from there, we'd like to get your arms to hang down a little bit more naturally so your hands are a little closer to your thighs. And then from there, letting the club work out to the ball. So a little revision from red into yellow where we're a little tall, pronated and reaching with the hands and arms, and perhaps just a little bit bent in the knees. Your alignment looks good, so let's go right into a little split screen comparison with you and Chellit Choi here. Now I've got some color-coded lines on the screen just to use as a visual reference as it pertains to swing plane. So we can see here with Chellit Choi, as we initiate the takeaway, we simply want to create good shoulder rotation, bring the arms and hands back as well as the club, and we want the club coming back on plane, directly along the red line. Also in the early stages of the golf swing, we also want to incorporate some good wrist hinge into play, which means we got to transition the club head from currently being below and in front of our hands to getting this club head now above and behind our hands. So that wrist hinge right there is very, very important in the golf swing. From here, we now want to work the golf club from red up to yellow. And when we finally set the club at the top of the swing, we pretty much want to have the left arm in the golf club on the yellow line, full shoulder rotation, and we want to do this about a very stable right leg with good arm extension. So with you, as we watch you initiate your takeaway here, you draw your hands back very nicely. Shoulders are turning, club's coming back on a beautiful plane. Hopefully we see some good wrist hinge here where the club head's going to get above and behind the hands here shortly, so it looks like you're doing that. So that's fantastic. As we continue to work to the top of the swing, we can see that you really don't work your arms correctly. Your right arm, your inner right tricep folds into your rib cage, your forearm folds to your bicep, and there's causing your left arm to break down. So your arms are very congested to your core. We're not really creating any arm extension during the backswing, so that might be something you want to look at improving. The other thing I do want to point out here has to do with posture. We can see that Chellit Choi at the top of her backswing, that her spine is pretty much set in this kind of position right here. If I take her back to address, what we're going to notice is that her spine's in the exact same position. So when she creates her backswing, she's rotating off of this posture we achieved at address, and that's the reason why we need to establish a good starting position with respect to posture. So here she is, she's creating her backswing, and she's just rotating on that axis. What we're going to notice with you is if I go ahead and mark your spine right now, it's too vertical at 75 degrees. If I put a box also around your head, the top of your head, your forehead, and your chin, what we're going to notice here is we're going to notice if we come back to address, watch how we drop down back into our starting position. Okay? So when you started, you're in much better posture. Your spine was in a, let's undo that. Your spine was in a much better position here at about 58 degrees, and your head was obviously in this position here. So when you create your backswing, you want to rotate, maintaining the red axis. You don't want to stand up into yellow. This is going to create a lot of havoc with your contact, especially irons when they're sitting on the ground. Now, obviously with a wood or a driver, when it's on the tee, you got a little bit more room for error because it's elevated off the ground. But with an iron, going to be very, very difficult. We don't want these elevation changes, okay? As we create our downswing, simply want to move our weight from our right foot to our left. We want to fire the knees and the hips laterally to the target, unwind the core, fire the hands, and in doing so, we want to bring the club from yellow back down onto red. And that's exactly what we see here. With Chellit Choi, the golf club has returned back to being on plane. The other thing we want to observe at this stage of the golf swing is the relationship between the lead forearm and the golf club. I refer to this as the backwards check mark. This simply means that her club head is remaining above and behind her hands coming into the hitting zone, and this is what's going to allow us to create a lot of power in our golf swing, let alone her ability to hit the ball straight because the club has returned back to plane. Okay, I want to take her back down to address, and I want to reiterate again how important it is to create good wrist hinge when we come back. So again, the club head is below and in front of the hands. We bring that golf club back with our rotation. We create wrist hinge. We get the club above and behind the hands. Well, what I want you to notice is she's got the exact same backwards check mark. So all she does now is she completes the hinge and the turn, gets to yellow, and then drives back into the ball right back into that backwards check mark. This is the most important part of a golf swing to create power and accuracy. So let's watch you create your transition back into the ball here. Your hands get pushed out in front of you, and that's going to be throwing the club head away. So what we can do is we can go ahead and track the club head at this point. We can clearly see that the club is not returning back to plane. And as we go into the next frame, that club's going to fall further out in front of you, and will continue to fall even further out in front and start attacking the ball from outside. So if we just connect these dots, we can get a pretty good visual sense as to what that descending plane was coming into the golf ball. Over the top, it's steep, and now we're going to be attacking the ball from outside to inside. Golf club never returned back to plane. That would be your frame right here, and the club doesn't come into the golf ball from this red line and from on plane, which again, as I've already stated, this is the reason why we hit straight golf shots, obviously in accordance to our alignment, and lastly, assuming the club face squares up by having a good grip. So seeing the downswing planes, the yellow lines are vastly different. We can now take a look at the path of the club, and what we can see is we can see that Chellia's club is inside the ball, expanding out to make contact, and the club moves through in a nice natural subtle arc. Your club is stuck outside the ball, dropping down and across to make contact. Okay, so very, very different path. And if you happen to square the club face up to this path, you'll hit the ball solid, but unfortunately, where's the ball going to go? Well, it's going to go in that direction because that's where you're swinging. If you happen to over-release the club to the path, not only will you pull the ball, but now we'll hit some form of a pull draw or pull hook, and the ball will go definitely too far left. If we leave the club face a little bit open to the path, this is when you hit your good golf shots. The ball starts a little bit right of that. Because the face was a little bit open, we're imparting a little bit of left to right spin, and the ball's going to curve to the right, and we'll hit this nice little fade. If we leave the club face too open, incredibly we can block the ball even further right, even though we're swinging way left. So incredibly, the club face was massively open, and we're going to hit some form of a block slice. So the end result of your golf shot is dictated based on the timing in the club face. Because the club is attacking the ball from outside, striking the ball and moving inside, if we square the face up, it follows red. Over-release the club, continues down the smaller red arrows. Leave it wide open, follows blue, and if we time it properly, it'll follow yellow, and we'll find the intended target. I also want to note at impact here, your right foot still flat on the ground. We can see with Chelia Choi that at impact here, her right heel's off the ground, and then she carries this right heel up off the ground, gets up on the toe of her right foot. This allows us to get our weight to our left side for our finish, allows our hips to square around, and therefore the shoulders can fully rotate, the hands can be behind, the club back in behind us. Let's see what you do, if anything, with your footwork through to your finish. So we don't create a little late. So you want to create that footwork a little sooner. Try and get off your right heel a little sooner, get fully up on your toe, and finish with your hands a little bit higher, okay? Overall, you get some really nice athletic characteristics with your golf swing. I like how your hands work. They come back, they fire through. Your core works well. You coil, you uncoil. You create okay footwork that allows you to get through to an okay finish. But ultimately, number one thing you have to change is you have to change your downswing plane. The coming over the top really hurts our golf shots, okay, from a consistency standpoint. Now in this particular case, looks like you left the face open just perfectly. Ball's heading towards the target. It does have left to right spin. It will move to the right, but I don't think it's going to excessively move too far right. So the timing that you associated to the path was okay in this particular swing. But that's very hard to do on a repetitive basis. So you will find that you will hit the golf ball left and too far right based on what that club face does through impact. Okay? Also with your backswing, obviously would like to learn how to create a rotational movement where we don't stand up out of the posture we achieve at address. Also at address, trying to get the arms to hang a little bit more, try and get a little bit more of an angle relationship between the arms and the club. Obviously trying to set the arms in a better position here with better extension. And then from there, obviously focusing what we just said and talked about with respect to your downswing plane. Okay? Anyways, at any point in time, if you ever want to work on any of these aspects of your golf game, I'm located over at Glen Abbey in Oakville. Be happy to structure a little program for you. Also, if you're involved with any golf tournaments at all, you guys are looking for a unique gift to provide your guests, feel free to touch base and I'd be happy to discuss my swing analysis service. Anyways, again, I hope you had a fabulous day and I hope you enjoyed getting an opportunity to see your swing on video. Take care.